Horst is absent.
He is, yeah, going to be absent tonight. Only item on our agenda for the public hearing is conditional zoning certificate to build an oversized garage in an R1 residential district at 8059 South Bedford Road. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak for or against this item? And this is not being, are you the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an opportunity for anyone to speak. And seeing that we're already a little behind, I'm guessing that no one's going to come, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Being that you're here now, I believe we can move right into the regular planning commission meeting for this evening. Can we get a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Westbrook?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Ms. Meski? Here. Mr. Wallenhorst is absent.
First is approval of the September 15th public hearing minutes. Anyone have any comments on those? I believe we are all, Mr. Wallenhorst is not here, but that's okay.
I'd approve them as submitted.
I'll second.
Motion approved as submitted.
All right, so got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then we have the minutes for the regular planning commission meeting from the same evening. Any comments?
Same motion I'd make to approve as submitted.
All right.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Our first item is the conditional zone or conditional use approval for the oversized garage at 8059 South Bedford Road. Mr. Ross,
Yes.
if you'd like to come up and have a seat up here at the table. We had your plans, and we also have reviews from both, I think, the city planner and the city engineer. Ms. France, would you like to go over?
Sure. My report dated October 4th involving a request to construct a 24 by 30, 720 square foot detached garage on the property located at 8059 South Bedford. Property being about 1.5 acres and zoned R1 residence. Pretty common request we see, particularly in the R1 district, to have these larger, oversized, detached accessory buildings, garage in this case. And the code basically says that detached garages are limited to 600 square feet, except if you have certain circumstances, unique lot size, larger lot size, you can have a larger accessory building. And so in this instance, the 1.5 acres is perfectly fine. And I'll just walk you through 116302H as it relates to accessory buildings, as well as then 116302I, which are the provisions for large lots. For the accessory building, it's required to comply, be located in the rear yard, and comply with the side yard and rear yard setbacks that are identified in the code. And so in this instance, the applicant has provided a hand-drawn site plan, no scale provided, but that does document that the side yard setback to the south property line is 17 feet is what's being proposed. And that does comply with the 5 feet required by the code. So should be no issue there. The only thing is, it'd be a recommendation to have a site plan is drawn to scale. Again, because the proposal is to have 720 square feet, and I see that site plan look very attractive. That probably is going to be good. So you could submit that, the chair can take that. 600 is the limitation, otherwise the conditional zoning certificate's required. That's why we had the public hearing tonight. I really don't see any reason why this can't be granted, just subject to a couple minor things, the site plan being one. And then the maximum ground coverage, we have a limitation. The ground coverage of all accessory buildings and structures combined can't exceed 35% of the rear yard. And then planning commission can permit greater, but there's, and I'm not sure it's on here. Sir, did you calculate out your percentage of ground floor?
not.
So I would just suggest it just be a stipulation to your approval tonight. It's pretty easy. If you go on the Summit County GIS, and these guys can help you, it'll detail out your lot size, it'll detail out the size of your existing building, your existing house, and then the size of your accessory structure, and then just calculate out the percentage. There's going to be no issue. It's just more of it's an exercise to put on your site plan.
I do have one of the original site things for the properties down South Bedford.
Yeah.
It shows lengths and widths and.
So if you take that, you convert that into square feet, and then you take your buildings in square footage, you'll be able to get the percentage of lot coverage. I'm confident you're not exceeding 35%, so it'd just be something you just note on this plan.
Okay.
And then there's a comment about the building department as it relates to it being fastened appropriately. It's really not a planning commission item, but it's in the code. The building department will evaluate that, ensure compliance. The accessory building can't exceed 15 feet or the height of the main structure. In this case, it's 10 feet, so it complies with the code. And then looks like it has a 312 roof pitch, and that's the minimum required. And so far as the large site, it is 1.5 acres, qualifies, and it does meet the setback. So with that said, I just would recommend approval, subject to. You can submit this into the record and somebody can check that for compliance, but I would suggest that include the lot coverage as well.
Okay. Do you have a copy of this? Of your... Okay. All right.
So if you want to just condition it on that being submitted, and then you can take that back tonight and then formally submit it to the building department, provided it gets approved tonight, which I would suspect it would, conditioned on those couple things.
Okay. Mr. July, you have any?
Yeah, so I had a few comments there in my memo. The site plan that was submitted was cut off, only about half of the drawing actually came through. But I guess let me just ask you a few questions.
Okay.
The oversized garage, will it have gutters and downspouts?
If necessary, yes.
Okay. If it has gutters and downspouts, are those connecting to the catch basin and the storm sewer system that's on your property?
Yes.
Okay. And then that storm sewer, again, my drawing gets cut off, and maybe that drawing answers some of my questions.
Yeah,
Does that storm sewer pipe empty into the roadside ditch on South Bedford Road?
eventually. I don't have a ditch.
Oh, okay.
Before we bought the property, somebody
Piped in the
piped
ditch?
in the culvert.
Okay.
So I just have 2 catch basins at each end of the property.
Okay. So then the storm sewer pipe,
And the French drain I put in last year all connect to that.
okay. Chairman, can I see the site plan? Maybe this will answer some of my questions. All right, so you have storm line
Yes.
coming from basically your rear yard, heading towards South Bedford. When it gets to South Bedford Road, where does it tie in, or what does it empty into?
It empties into, the school property has a catch basin also.
Okay.
Because when they redid the softball fields,
Mhm.
all that water comes through and down next to my property.
Okay.
And then it's somewhere between my catch basin and their catch basin.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying though, this storm line that you drew here, it's heading in a west direction towards South
Right.
Bedford Road. When it gets to here, where does that water empty into? What does this storm line tie into?
Culvert line.
The ditch enclosure
Yes.
pipe. Perfect. That's great. Yeah, so if you have gutters, which I would strongly recommend, please tie them into this catch basin, which ties in to this storm line, it ties into the ditch enclosure pipe, and if you do all that, we're good, at least from an engineering point of view. And Susan, I don't know if you want to take a picture of this thing, or maybe note it, that this storm line ties into the ditch enclosure pipe.
Which storm line, and can you describe where it is?
It
North,
is on the
south?
along the south property line of Mr. Ross's property.
Okay.
And the French drain on the north side Does the same.
Does the same, okay. Yeah, you definitely wanna tie your, garage gutters into the real drain, let's call it, not so much the
Yeah.
French drain.
It'd be much easier.
All right, so you're,
Thank you, yeah, so long as we do all that, we're good,
all right,
at least from my perspective.
Kevin,
yes,
do you think we ought to approve this administratively since there's more than one thing?
I think
that,
so.
Subject to administrative, so there's a couple things that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. For that, Mr. Ruth, you have anything? No? Mr. Allen? No? All right, you guys have any other questions besides what's been brought up? Tony, you wanna try and make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve this, subject to the comments made by the parties here and subject to administrative approval. And when you get those things up there and they look them over, that's what I would make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. France, do those need to be specifically mentioned, should we specifically mention the?
I think I heard Mr. Cox specifically mention the engineer and planner's memo,
Okay.
and that revisions to the plan, based on the engineer and planner's memo, be provided for administrative review of compliance.
I think I did say that.
I believe so.
I know I heard it.
I heard it twice now, once from you, once from him.
All right, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so, yeah, good. Yeah, just add that stuff to that and get that information in, and it should be good to
We just
go.
basically need,
The coverage, yeah, lot
all the
coverage.
property.
It's just the rear, right, of the rear yard, percentage of the rear yard, or was it the whole?
It's of the rear.
Of the rear
yeah.
yard, so from the house, from the back of the house,
Back of the house back.
back, make sure you're not covering over 35. And you could call up there and they could help you, make sure you're putting that on there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you have like
Alright.
65,000 square feet is your lot if it's 1.5 acres, so you should be able to just get some measurements to cap off the rear and determine the square footage divided by the outbuildings in the main building, and you're way under 35. It's more of an exercise to meet the code.
Okay. I'll see you probably tomorrow morning.
Okay,
I'll go home and do my math and.
I'll be there.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
And I don't need to pay you the $5,000.
No one said that, to be clear.
The only
No,
one
don't-
who needs
don't
the
pay
approval.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, and I guess this isn't requested, we meant to make an announcement, I don't know, are you the next applicant?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, if you receive any emails regarding payment for anything, there was a, email hack issue. You know, he received one asking for $4,000 or so to be wired to.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't do
Didn't
any
hear about that.
wiring. You would
Yeah.
pay the building department for an escrow and a fee, which you already paid. There are no more additional fees except for permit.
Yeah, somebody got into the system, I guess.
I gotta find that Brian Franz and get his paycheck.
Yeah.
A good one.
So next is Escape Nails, 746 East Aurora Road. Come on up. So this is basically, is it the same business changing names, or do you know?
I believe.
Believe so?
Yeah.
Same basic kind of business if it's not the same. All right, well, your plan was pretty self-explanatory. I know Mr. France has comments on that if you'd like to go over.
Yeah, my memo dated October 11th for Skate Nails. This is in the Macedonia Town Square Plaza, unit number 2, for the more seasoned veterans of the group. That's formerly called Pelican Park. See, that's all I'm waiting. So, reviewed the application. The proposal is to erect about a 1.58 by 23.17 feet, 36.6 square feet sign with, it's situated on one line of copy. Sign will have white acrylic letters, black side returns, and a black trim cap. 5-inch deep raceway. It looks like the letter can being the same and then painted fire brick on the raceway. The adopted criteria, 2005 was the adoption date. That was amended 2014, I believe. Unit 2 is permitted at 53 square feet. So from an area standpoint, there's no issue. Just a couple minor outstanding items. The sign criteria does require dark metallic gray trim caps and side returns. Black are being proposed. And then the sign has to be 15 inches from the bottom of the fascia band. That I couldn't tell based on the plan if that was compliant or not. And then, again, the raceway is required to be 6 inches and 3 inches for the letter can. So would recommend a revised plan that complies with these things. So the trim cap as proposed at black needs to be a dark metallic gray, same with the side returns, and then the depth of the raceway and letter can need to comply with the sign criteria. The insert is no issue. There is an insert being proposed in the existing ground monument sign, no issue there. Would recommend approval subject to.
All right,
I ask a question.
you can.
How come we can't use black on the side on most of the signs that are black?
Most of the signs in there are black.
I just stopped this finally here. Some of them are white too.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't see any that are, would you want gray or silver?
Dark metallic, yeah. So I would say what happens is when these folks approve them, the signs, something happens after here, whether they get approval from the building department and they put up something afterwards, maybe they show the dark metallic and switch them later, who knows? I can tell you in my time here at the city, we've seen some interesting things. But nevertheless, all the ones that come out of here are approved with dark metallic. This planning commission can't approve anything otherwise, because that's the agreed upon sign criteria both by the city and the plaza owner.
Yeah, and there's nothing special, I think, about the gray. I mean, other ones use what, the bronze. They're just trying to go for consistency.
Yeah.
Clearly, there might be an issue of having consistency if they're doing whatever they want, but yeah, I mean, coming out of here, we have to follow that criteria. They could have set the criteria up with something different, but that's what I think the applicant originally, the owner asked for.
Yeah.
They're like, fine, as long as it's consistent. It's not, but, yeah.
That's what I was wondering, because I stopped and I could have sworn they were black. And even the owner's like, well, I just want what we have. I go, well, you have black returns with a white face. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Any other comments, Joe?
No.
I assume you guys, building, fire, you guys are good. All right, you guys have any comments?
No, not really.
I did change the print, if you want the revised print.
I do.
Yeah. If
I
you've got,
changed it because I didn't know if you were gonna approve it or not, so I did change it with the color change.
okay, yeah, if you're okay with, yeah, specify that, I can submit this to Susan up there. With that, unless anyone has any other comments, I'll make a motion to, approve the plan with, addressing the comments in Mr. France's memo concerning colors and depth of the raceway, to be reviewed administratively.
I'll second it.
Any thoughts? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that should work. Susan, any other additional copies? Okay, you've got,
No, this is the
that
one
one's
that
good.
got it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Anything else?
No, you're good. You're good to go. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're good. I've never been able to get down there.
Next is the proposed lot split for the enclave at 8282 Lakeview Drive. Is that the address of the,
What's the address in here? Talking about this area, but.
okay, but that's Lakeview, okay. So this is the South Bedford thing. Looks like no one is here, but in reviewing your comments, it looks like they didn't provide what you were looking for anyway, which was still more information on the overall coverage requirements to make sure they're not screwing that up by splitting off this section.
Did you get the common pleas court case?
No.
Where it is, if anybody wants it, I mean, it's public record.
Yeah, I mean, so I would say that, while I would appreciate taking it and looking at it, it's the applicant's responsibility to have to submit
should,
it. Yeah, they should submit it.
All right.
And you're right, the only thing that changed is there's like a notation on there that said it's gonna be conveyed to the contiguous property owner. They cite the permanent parcel number and they state that vacant and to remain vacant, which is consistent with what they said at the meeting. It's just, you know, my concern is, does it impact any of the standards or requirements that came out of that case?
Yeah, was there a certain percentage open space that was required? You pull this out and now they've got 7% less open space or
Yeah.
something.
And I don't know if the court document will state that, or if it just states that you can have this many units and you have to be in compliance with all the other standards. I don't know, but they should provide it, submit it, and they should give us a bullet point. Blank.
I agree.
And is that how you know, when you said to remain open, is that how you were requesting? I thought there was more detail on what you wanted to say, that the use or how it was supposed to be left, I forget.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think, well, I don't quite understand why they're not, if they're splitting it off a plat, they're effectively removing it from that existing plat. I don't know why they just don't combine it with the other one. That would make me feel more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That they are willing to, I mean, they're willing to deed restrict it or something, but it's pretty hampered by riparian, so I don't know that it's buildable, but I would certainly want to be on the record stating whether it's buildable or we don't believe it's buildable.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't
I
want.
think they were planning to make it buildable, but then, as they said at their meeting, it's not buildable, and I think they wanna do something different with it. I think the court allowed them to put certain things in there, subject, the way I read it, subject to, the committee and the city going along with it. They had a certain density and all that, but, I don't think they're gonna build on it. Is that what you're thinking is?
Yeah, but if there is a density standard, that means that the density standard is based on an overall area of the plat. If we're removing out a big chunk of that area and giving it to somebody else,
Yeah.
then that might change what's allowed. I don't know how the case is read, and again, I would recommend that they provide to us, a copy of it, one, and their analysis of it. You know, we'll
Yeah.
point out, we don't see an issue because blank, or there is an issue, and then we'll react accordingly. But until that happens, I wouldn't approve this until we get that information.
Yeah, in short, they provided none of the information we asked, and they're not here tonight, so
Yeah.
we can't ask, and I don't wanna do the research for them or assume anything, so.
I'll make a motion to continue this to the November meeting for additional information and for their attendance.
And if they don't come to the November meeting, I would suggest you just,
Make it inactive or something.
you could either place it on an inactive agenda or deny it for cause. I mean,
Okay,
we can cross that bridge, my guess is they'll show up.
yeah.
So that was for, additional,
Provided additional requested information and for their attendance.
okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, the next item is ordinance 51-2025. That one is not the driveway, or that is the driveway one, but we also had the 55-2025, which is the recreational vehicle one.
Huh? I'm confused.
I think there's two council things.
Yeah, the RVs and driveways.
We we sign this on. So that, we had the one thing carried forward before, it was the driveway paving issue that
Okay.
we were going to, kind of take over from council, like they were looking for our input, and we said, well, let's, since there's not a hurry, we're gonna kind of take ownership of that and do something and then recommend it to council, although Mr. France recommended I send an email to council clerk, and I did not do that. I meant to ask you, because you offered to help me with some language of what to put, and I didn't ask you for it,
Yeah.
so I didn't do it, but I will maybe after this meeting.
Do you know, is it still pending? I thought the last conversation we had, there was pending still at
I don't know.
They're waiting on you guys to discuss
council.
it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of the dog trying to catch its tail, so I think you already exceeded your time.
I think we did.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah,
So, you know, you probably just, I can help you, we can put that email together. Just
Okay,
basically say, look, we get it, that it needs to be studied, we'd like to talk about it, and this removes our timetable under the code, and we'll get, if you're okay with it, we'll get you a recommendation back of, or you can just initiate your amendment, do it yourself. You can send an email and
Yeah.
initiate an amendment.
maybe both of those things, yeah, if you don't mind helping.
Yeah, I think though if you initiate the amendment, we should probably have some language to give, because when you initiate the amendment, there's one of three ways to do so in the code, right? The planning commission, property owner, or council. Council did it with a resolution, sent it to you. By the time it got to you, you were already faced with having to make a decision that night because the timetable was tight in the code under, I think it's like 1141 or something. So what I'll do is we'll send an email and then we should study it, put together some language, and then propose an initiation amendment. We can give it to council, they can look it over and,
Yeah,
you know, because it's a partnership, right? You don't want to give them something that they don't want.
right,
So you can give them some suggestions and then they can say, well, we like this, and then they'll just by resolution send it back. I can talk to Mark as well, Goodetti, and,
if you don't mind, I'd appreciate that.
yeah.
Because I don't think this was necessarily, it was like a council initiative or anything, this came from the building department, right?
Yeah.
You guys, your issue. So I guess we could do that, and we could talk about something, I know Scott definitely has some thoughts on it, he messaged me saying he wasn't gonna be here because he's sick, but he definitely had some thoughts on that, not necessarily on the recreational vehicle, he didn't really have any thoughts, so. We could either wait till Scott's here and we all discuss it again, or if anybody's got anything they'd like to discuss on it.
So I went and I watched the original, city council meeting when it came up, and it was two things. It was, these gravel driveways getting wider and wider as people kind of just drive all over and there's no control there, and then weeds are coming up in them. So, I didn't hear anything about gravel or mud coming out in the streets. There was like one mention of mud, but I think they were just sort of thinking that they're unsightly. But at the same time, I think if they're tucked behind the main building, if they're not visible from the street, I don't see why we should have that kind of influence over the material. If that's what somebody wants to do to their yard, which I wouldn't, but,
Talking about for the accessory building?
yeah, are we still, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we're
yeah,
on, right?
yeah.
So, and then I thought some of the language was a little confusing, so if you wanna hold off until Scott's here, I think there's a better way to organize this, I think there's better language we could use, where we're not so heavy-handed over what is required. They also don't plan to ask anyone to upgrade to a paved driveway, it would be for all new buildings, or new accessory buildings, so, and then I kind of looked around town and looked on an aerial. I really couldn't find a lot of examples. It seems like if they're there, they're either along Old A and Valley View Road, and those are very kind of rural corridors. So, and you know, this town does have kind of a rural character to it. So, you know, the impulse to write something like this that could be very prohibitive to building, you know, when somebody, the property owner has a deeper property. wants, I don't know, I'm not sure we're in total agreement with it, or I'm in total agreement, but I think there are some middle of the road ways that we could address, the language and what would be required. You know, if it's visible from the road, maybe within the first 100 feet, they're required. It would just kind of set those limitations. And then I think it needs to be a separate paragraph, not tacked on to these first two, that really just deal with the sizes of the buildings, so.
Okay, well, appreciate your thoughts. I know, Mr. Cox, you had some thoughts, I think.
Well, yeah, I guess I got interested in it because of the whole system. When I was on the Hudson Board for many years, when they have the building department or anybody wanted to put a new ordinance in, what they did was say, well, we got a problem, say, with gravel driveways, there's too many in the town. They would send that to the law department. I know it's expensive to do that. And the law department would look around for all the ordinances in various communities around there, or in different states or something, and they'd crank out something. And so when you're talking about some of the language is confusing and all that was part of the issue. That's the study of it. What I found kind of interesting was the ex post facto idea that no matter what we do or what they put in these ordinances, the non-conforming use statute, it used to be 2 years and you could lower it down to 6 months. If they abandoned it for 6 months, then you can make them put in a stone driveway or a asphalt driveway. But other than that, these people that have a gravel driveway, I think can keep there forever. No matter what we put in the ordinance, they don't have to change anything. So, but that's in, I think, in all ordinances that do this kind of thing. All the cities have that. So that struck me as sort of interesting. So to me, it looks like the building commission is going to have to run around all the time and see if anybody has abandoned their gravel driveway for 6 months. And then they can do something to them. Otherwise, you can't do a thing to them, the way I read it. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate synopsis of nonconformities, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the city probably could do, if they really wanted, which is a heavy-handed approach, they probably could put a sunset clause in as
Yeah.
well. You know, they could say, we're doing this in 18 months, 24 months, 3 years, or whatever the number is. Everybody who has a gravel drive has to conform to being hard surface. I think they could do that.
I don't think you could make them, I don't think you can make them even after 3 years or 5 years.
Not conforming, I'm saying a sunset clause. I think as a charter municipality, you probably could. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think the city wants to take that approach. That's pretty heavy-handed.
Yeah,
But you're right on the nonconformity side. And
yeah.
I just don't see the building department having, like, I'm amazed that they do what they do with the staffing that they do. So I just don't see them doing that. Now, that's a lot of doing. With that said, you know, to upgrade new to something, you know, you could probably spend some time to talk about what that is. But it does get to the same issue you raised, like if it's a long backyard, and I bet there's gotta be some on North Bedford, those are big, deep lots. And we see a lot of oversized garages there, there's gotta be some that, and I don't know how you know, although gravel does have the same runoff coefficient as concrete or asphalt, so you're gonna get the same sort of stormwater runoff. I was about to say, I don't know how you're gonna make somebody put that much hard surface, but from a stormwater standpoint, it's basically the same.
All right, so it's my turn.
I'm just all opinion.
I agree with what you said there. Like, I don't like that we're kind of spinning our wheels on this, and somebody like legal hasn't taken a first stab at writing this. But then, if we ask them to do that, I feel like we kind of need to give them some type of parameters on what we would agree on. I don't know if we vote on something. Like, let me give you a couple examples. So first of all, there's two things here in what they propose. The first is the primary driveway should be concrete from the road to the house. I think, I don't want to speak for everybody here, I think we all kind of agree with that, okay? However, like, I did some research. I'm not very good at this. That's why I love your idea, having someone in legal who does this for a living to pull what are surrounding communities doing. I looked at Twinsburg. I think I looked at Hudson, Solon, Brecksville. The only thing I could find for any type of driveway requirement based on length, they all have width and thickness, but the only thing on length was Twinsburg. One of the things I thought was interesting, I kind of agree with it, they were talking about, I have it here, it says when a front yard setback is greater than 100 feet, the first 45 feet of driveway must be paved. Beyond that, 6-inch aggregate unpaved driveway is acceptable, minimum width of 8 feet. And we have properties where, actually, I think the first one here, wasn't it like 200
You're
feet off
talking
the road?
about, you're talking about new property, right?
Correct,
a
yeah.
brand
this
new one.
wouldn't- I'm not saying you
If
go
somebody
back.
has one for the last 20 years, they can just keep their
Not-
old
yeah.
gravel driveway.
Not talking about that, but I'm saying somebody, or buys a house or whatever, builds a
Right.
house, and they're 150 feet back, is that becoming too cost prohibitive for them to move here, that they have to put in a
That's a
150
point, yeah.
foot, minimum 8 foot wide, or 10 foot wide, I think the maximum 20 foot wide driveway? So my point is as a commission, if we wanted to put limitations on the primary driveway, and then if we also wanted to put limitations on that secondary driveway to an accessory building, I feel like we need to get organized, maybe potentially the next meeting, and put together a list of what we're looking for, and then have legal draw that up. But I'd also still like to see legal provide us with examples of what other communities around us have done, or if they've done anything at all. So I'm not saying it's bad if we're the first one to do it. If there's a problem, we can solve
Well,
it.
you wouldn't be the first one, for sure.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Again, I'm not very good at looking up things in code, but in the time I spent searching, I could only find one thing. It was in Twinsburg, so. And then I couldn't find anything about a requirement for an accessory building in those same communities, so.
Well, this is, you know, the way I looked at it, the whole thing's legal, but the problem would be the burden on the city for the next many, many years, seeing if somebody's changed their driveway in
Yeah.
6 months. They have a 6-month clause in our non-conforming use clause. It could be 2 years, but it's now down to 6 months, which you're allowed to do. So if somebody abandons it for 6 months, yes, we can go in there and force them to do whatever we want them to do, the way I read it.
Mr. Allen, did you have any? I know you had some
I've just been waiting to
background.
hear what you guys have to say. I did bring in some photos
Okay.
to kind of help you guys kind of get, and I agree with what you're saying as far as the main driveway. I got an example here. There's the entranceway and a house sitting far back, and that's on Valley View. Like you were talking about, some of them lots are pretty deep. Okay, it's gravel at the road, and then it's silver, 100 some feet, and then they transition it, before they get to the house, they transition it to concrete.
So it starts gravel.
It starts gravel and ends with concrete.
See, like, I see the benefit for having it being concrete at the street to a certain distance. Gravel's a problem, but.
And I like what Twinsburg says, the first 45 feet or whatever from the road should be hard surface. That makes sense to me. Let them deal with that from there on out, and you deal with driveways, that length. I do agree that it should be mainly the new construction, right? I agree there as well. We could even leave it at that, right? As just for new construction. I have another example here of, you talk about the widening of the driveways. Well, there's an example right there where it just expands and it looks pretty bad. Okay, and that's on Blueberry, I think, right? Blueberry?
Yeah.
And so, I got some other, I'll just leave these here if you guys want them to see the rest of them, but, and then I got another example of an extension of gravel from, off the concrete drive. Yeah, like a turnaround or something like that. Of course, these are existing, right, but
Looks like you got a position problem too.
and so, those are kind of things that I wanted to show you guys, to give you some visuals. One last one here is unique. So this is off Valley View. It's 9042 Valley View. And basically, it starts off with like an asphalt kind of driveway to the main house. And then it goes past the house to a pool building that they're just building right now. Okay? Well, he's got a secondary drive. This is where it's come behind the house, here, the second page. And then the third page, you could see a secondary drive coming off Valley View going into the pool building. So that I thought maybe I'd just throw that in there for kicks. You see what you guys think of that. It's muddy, it's nasty. But it's that secondary drive's been there for a while, according to the owner.
Do they, you know, when they put this dirt driveway in, what you're talking about there, do they come to the city or just willy-nilly put it in there? Don't they get some kind of permit to put it in there?
Well, as far as that one right there, that pool building, he's had that secondary drive for a lot of years as far as what he's telling me. Now, I came here in August, so you guys may know more about it than I would, right? But I'm just going by what he has said.
Well, if they don't have a permit to put it in the first place, I think you can do anything you want to. But if they got a permit from the city of Macedonia to do these various driveways, I think we run into our non-conforming use thing, that what, you know, then you gotta wait for them to abandon it. That way I look at it.
So, well, when somebody
you got
does
a
something, they have a
permit to do
site
it,
plan.
How did he get it in there? You know, just start building? I don't think you can.
Well, all I know is like when a new house is built or whatever, they have a site plan, right?
Well,
And
that's
they
a
make
new,
sure-
that's a new house. I'm talking about these old things that have been there
Well,
for
they
20 years.
they do go through, you know, Chris, and he does a good job of making sure everything complies with the zoning, you know, and he usually catches, he's pretty good about it.
Yeah.
But you don't, there's not a specific requirement for a permit for a driveway.
If they're putting a concrete driveway in, absolutely there is.
Right, but you don't require concrete.
I've never issued a driveway for gravel,
Yeah.
is all I can say. Whether it's required or not, there is no application for that.
And there's no prohibition, otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here talking. So there's no prohibition, no permit, you're not gonna, you know, you can just go do it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, you know, in a
Yeah.
way. The idea is somebody that got a permit to do it, you know, the non-conforming use, and then they abandon it. But
Yeah.
these people had no permit to begin with. Maybe you have a good right to go after them. I don't know. Somebody'd have to search that one out.
I mean, the last one that you showed definitely is a property maintenance violation. I mean, I have to believe your property maintenance code addresses that situation, so it's an enforcement issue.
But, okay, so let me ask you, this is just my question, how does
Yeah.
this happen? So this last property you talked about, they recently got an approval for a large accessory building.
Yeah.
So can the city say, well, okay, but hold on a second here, there's a problem here, and there was no permit for this, we looked, whatever. Can the city say, you gotta fix this before you can do this? I don't know, I'm just asking, I'm trying to understand that.
Yeah, that's, it's a little tricky, so that, again, I don't know your property maintenance code, but, I have to believe that that is a property maintenance violation, what I saw in the pictures. And then it gets a little tricky because can you hold up a permit for property maintenance violations? We've had those conversations here, right? Remember some of the lot split, the giant lot split, where it was like, I don't know, 100 and some acres, and they're divvying it up amongst other property owners, and I noted in the report, outdoor storage. We push as much as we can to get them at the end of the day. If they tell us to jump in a lake, I'm not sure we can hold our permit up for something that's non-related.
As far as that particular property, the secondary drive's been in there for a long time, according to what he's saying, which it does look like it's been there for a while.
And there's ways to go back, like you can look at historic aerials to get a good idea when that drive went in.
Does that matter though?
Well,
For the code?
you know, again, I don't know what we say about, I'd have to look at the code, what we say about curb openings. If it's limited to, usually the code will say it's limited to one curb opening, two if your lot frontage equals blank, or, right, or your acreage, something. That's this way, and then you have to have separation too. I mean, I don't know what that distance is, but you try to have them, you know, if you're gonna have them separated out far enough away too. My guess is that just went in and it just went in. Whether it's legal or not, that's a different issue.
I mean, it could've been there for 40 or 50 years, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It might have been scraped out in 2016. Who knows? I will say, a lot of things happened during COVID.
Yeah,
Whether that's one of them, I don't know.
Susan, do you know if there's been many applications for the next meeting so far? I know you still got some time, two already. Anything big so far yet? Okay, just thinking meeting length. But I would like to have Scott, supposedly he's got some definite thoughts. Chris, you've got a whole bunch of stuff marked up. Maybe to discuss it just a little bit further, and in that meantime, also, Brian help me put some email together to the council to kind of, since we've, blown the schedule. We were supposed to.
Is it possible to have, like what Tony asked for, to have someone who knows what they're doing search this stuff? To give us
and
some
I-
examples before the meeting so we can read through it and kind of collect our thoughts, or no?
I have to talk to Mark Gadetti. Or we can call him together and ask him. I don't know if he can get it for the next meeting or not, but I'm sure Mark always is helpful to us.
Yeah.
I'm sure he can give us some examples.
Okay. So I think at this point, I don't know if we really have to make any kind of motion to hold that for the next meeting or anything. Do you think?
It wasn't on your agenda tonight.
This 51/2025 is this one. So yes, it was an item on the
The
agenda.
one we're talking about now, would that
Yes.
be just continue it to the next meeting?
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue this item to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then the one thing, I think this is what John Hoover, is that his name?
Yeah, I missed that one, so if
Okay.
you wanna add that to the agenda.
Yeah.
you can.
If I could make a motion to add discussion on ordinance 55/2025 from council to the agenda. Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this one is the recreational vehicle one. Brian, did you get a copy of that?
I got it over email and I looked at it and they all seem reasonable. Typically, recreational vehicles, trailers in residential areas, most of the language you'll see, it states that they have to be parked in the most practical and least noticeable location on the property from the public right of way.
So that language is kind of standard, at least noticeable. I was just like, it seems awful, kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
Okay, okay.
And
that
it
was-
is kind of purposely.
Okay,
A little
because that was my only
purposely.
real comment on the thing, but I guess, in the language, looking at the highlighted sections, it looks like they've defined recreational vehicle,
Mhm.
added that in there instead of just kind of talking about camp trailers and boats, they've crossed that out, and then the recreational vehicle falls under the area where it's supposed to be in a garage or parked in a manner as to be least noticeable from the street. And then the section was added, except that recreational vehicles may be parked in a manner visible from the street at any location upon the premises otherwise permitted under the codified ordinance of the city of Macedonia from May 1st through September 30th each calendar year. So basically, during the season that you primarily use it, May 1st through September 30th, you can park it as long as it's like, a designated parking. You can't just stick it in your front yard. It has to be on in your drive, but that's okay. Then beyond, anytime after September 30th, before May 1st, it's gotta be parked in a manner to be least noticeable from the street, so not out front, in front of your, either try to get it back. Is that the intention of this? Would you like to give any background on this, because I assume this came from you guys as well, or did this come from
Yeah,
the council?
well, yeah, and the idea of it is, I just had a complaint this past week where, a camper's been parked for a year, same spot, never moved, right, and so, they're just trying to control the situation a little bit. I think there's been some debate over the time frame, right? When does the campgrounds open, when they close, that sort of thing, that's seemed to be a hot topic with some of the councilmen, as far as, their constituents are concerned, which they should be, maybe, some of them, right, so it's still been going on, right, and they just keep pushing it back to you and back to you, so.
But as I understand it, right now they're not permitted to park it if I'm reading this right. I thought there was like so many days and then it had to move.
They're the least visible. That's just like this camper, this pop-up camper I'm dealing with right now. The only thing I can do is go to them and quote the ordinance to them, and, you know, the least visible. They got a backyard they can put it at.
So there isn't a time limit, it just,
No, as far as I know, there's no time limit, okay?
I'm thinking.
I think they're trying to establish a time limit on when people can take and park these things, and they're off to the side.
I think what I'm
That's what they're
confusing
trying to
is-
establish.
Okay, I live in an HOA and we have, I think, some type of time limit, like no more than 5 days or contiguous days or something, whatever. That's what I was probably thinking of.
So this,
Okay.
all this really gives you is the ability, if someone's got something that's been sitting there for a while, and you say, you could push it back. You could put it back a little farther, this doesn't need to be right out smack dab in front of your garage door.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, you could easily put this back there, you need to do that, or we could cite you, because that's
Yeah,
not the.
yeah, in this particular case, it was a small pop-up camper, right? They're
Yeah.
pretty small, they had a big, pretty decent sized backyard, very accessible. They could easily put it back there, we would give them an opportunity. And then, and if they didn't, we could cite them because it's out front. I mean, it's a nice house, it's got a paved driveway, you know, they're around in the turnaround, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, they're right there and they park it right in the turnaround, so it's right there, you know, so.
And council seem to be happy with this language?
Well, I'm not saying they're happy with that
Okay.
because, you know, we got some people running for reelection and, you know.
Yeah.
So-
And I guess you also added that they couldn't,
Yeah, 50/50.
you also added they couldn't have the permanent connections, electricity, water, gas, sanitation.
Yeah.
So basically, you can't, if it's sitting out there, you can't be using it. It's not, your front driveway's not a campground.
Well, and that's what they're worried about too, is people like
Renting
living in
out,
them or
yeah.
renting them or
Yeah.
whatever,
My kid
you
lives
know.
out in my garage driveway.
You know what I mean?
Show.
But is there a way to write this where like if I had a neighbor who had one of these and they wanted to pull it out on a Saturday for the kids to camp in and stuff and overnight and then put it away, you know, maybe it stays
Yeah.
behind the house, whatever, it could still be used, but for a very,
Well, that kind of sounds like it could fall under this, because this
Does it?
sucks, it shall not have a, you know, permanent connections, electricity, water, gas. But if your kids
Okay.
were gonna say, hey, go plug in an extension cord, that's not a
That's not
permanent
permanent.
thing.
Well, another-
they can't plumb it into the house.
Well, that happens.
I believe that happens,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I like that language, I think that's a great idea. But if I understand, those city council sent this to us for our comments, right?
Yeah.
But did they? Like, or is
Yeah,
it
is
just the
this the
formality of it?
Is this the same issue as the other amendment? Did they do this by resolution?
I'm not,
I'll see if I can find
the
John's.
email we got from John, I got it right here, please be advised, city council has referred to ordinance number 55-225 attached to the planning commission for its recommendation. We understand the next planning commission meeting is Monday, October 20th. Any questions, please let Jeff Mark or I know. And it's signed by John Hooper, clerk of council.
So that's ordinance 55.
50, isn't that what we're talking about?
55, yeah.
Yeah, 55-2025, the RV.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was, so it's-
The email's on September 26th.
are you able to see, is it on council's agenda pending as legislation? It's in
Look.
ordinance format. Yeah, no, I looked at it, I guess I didn't realize. You're
It's
gonna be able to
sponsored by
see-
Mr. Garvis, which we know just doesn't necessarily mean that they're supporting or against it, they're just the ones who introduced it. Are you going to the agenda or?
It's gonna try,
Okay.
but feel free to keep looking too.
I'm guessing it would be on there because one of these is the language written there. Council's referred it on September 25th, and I'm saying obtain said recommendation from planning commission on blank, comma, 2025. I guess I read that as they're looking for us to potentially recommend it sometime this year.
Well, we'll tell you this. When it comes to the campers, and you asked about scenarios, if you got one of them fifth wheel campers and they're like 30, 40 foot long, and your driveway's 45 foot long. I mean, those kind of scenarios have been brought up, you know, I mean, how do you address those?
I got it, but where I feel like we got two things that are, in my mind, are crossing over the driveway stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I own 4 acres and you can't see my house from the street,
Doesn't matter, right?
but if this passes the way it's written, it now potentially matters.
Yeah.
If I got a neighbor who flies a drone over and takes a look, oh, look, I don't like this neighbor, they got a camper in front of their house. They could do something about that, and I feel someone who has a pretty large private property should have some type of, I don't know if it's an exception or,
I agree.
so, again, like, I appreciate that you can't account for everything when you write this legislation, but I feel like these two are a little too general, and we need to put some boundaries around it. Because I think the spirit of the people who work in the building department today would interpret it similar, but we don't know who's gonna be working there 10 years from now, right?
Yeah, when again, I go back to my other idea, how they usually do it in cities. Brecksville, Gates Mills, Hudson, and Arlen, they've all had this problem. Nobody wants campers in their front yard.
Except for the
They've
person
all
who owns a
written,
camper.
they've all written ordinances on this, and again, I would have our building department say, you know, these places are a mess, what do we do about them? They send it to the law department, they'd look around and do research. I know it's expensive for the city to do that, but they'd write an ordinance that makes some sense. Instead of putting, this struck me as a bit of a hodgepodge here, there, and everywhere. And our HOA rules are apparently just like yours, it all covers recreational vehicle. And in fact, the ex-mayor is the one that approved our HOA rules, because he built our development over there, Joe Migliorini. But so all these HOAs have a similar thing, and that's what we should model ourselves after, instead of, you know, each councilman says, well, I'd like this thing in there, I'd like that thing in there, and you get kind of a hodgepodge. So that's what I would suggest again. I know it's expensive, but send it to somebody that can look around at various communities. You started doing that, and that probably is the way to do it. Copy someone else's, I think.
Yeah,
My
although
opinion.
I understand you model it after an HOA like that, but I would want to see some type of limitation there so that the person who does not want to live under an HOA type situation, and they're fortunate to be able to buy, you know, 2 acres or 4 acres or whatever, they don't want an HOA, and I think we need to put some limitations in there, if it's reasonable,
Well,
to
yeah.
allow them to not have to live under restrictions like that.
Hudson has 2.5 acre or parcels all over the place, and Gates Mills has even bigger ones, Hunting Valley and all that, and they've all, I guess, would wrestled with this problem. It'll be great to see how they did it.
The other thing I think of, if you try to model it after an HOA, I have this feeling that HOAs are strict, like, you don't have it sitting there. You know, like you said, maybe it's, you know, 3 days, 5 days at the most in a year, and that's, you know, when you're cleaning it out.
Ours was intended so you could park it for a few days to maintenance, they clean it, and then it goes away.
Yeah, unless, if the city doesn't want to be, you know, bust chops like that, and you have to tell everybody you can't have it, I don't think we're probably not modeling after an HOA, but, you know, if the best you can do in standard language that everybody's probably using, if you know, for instance, you've seen it before in other places, that parked in a manner to be least noticeable from the street. Again, it's kind of wishy-washy, but it's.
Yeah, that's a
it
good
is,
point.
You know,
And
it
that's
does
what
give
your
you some.
current language states now.
Right, that's,
Okay.
so that wasn't even an edited part that was
Yeah.
being recommended to be changed.
Yeah, because like what you're saying, my hypothetical 4 acre example,
Yeah.
presumably they
Anywhere.
would have the room on the backside of the primary
Yeah.
structure to move it, right?
Or,
And then
or
it
someone
complies.
wants to complain about it, and the building department's like, man, you know, least noticeable from the street, you can't see it from the street.
That's a
Or
good
even if
point,
it's
too.
parked in the front yard.
That's a good
You
point.
know, be quiet, neighbor, you know, it's not, you know, you can't even see it.
That's a good point.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know that I have any major real problem with this, I don't have any real, you know, that was my only real comment, is that language seems wishy-washy, but it sounds like that's kind of the
It
standard.
might be more
unless you wanna-
powerful than we think it is. actually.
Yeah, it actually gives you guys some flexibility, that kind of language. It adds the thing about, you know, which I think is important, about not making these, you know, turn into a rental unit out in your front yard, is nice. You know, so I would think we could pass it back, you know, and say, you know, no real recommendations, at least from me. I don't know if you guys have any. I think they probably, Brian, it sounds like it's something they're kind of expecting us to return
Yeah, when did we
September
get the-
26th. And they got recognized that our next meeting was
Today.
October 20th today. They didn't say get it back this next one, but I think that's probably how it's
Huh.
intended.
It looks like they had a first reading August 14th,
Maybe somehow it didn't get passed on to us or something like that.
or maybe that's not updated, maybe there has been, I mean, September they would have had a reading. If
Yeah.
first was August, September would have been their second.
Second,
Yeah, and you have 30 days after your receipt of getting it,
so,
so.
we won't
You could-
meet again before then, so.
But if I understand the way this is worded, it says that it may be parked in a manner visible from the street at any location upon the premise otherwise permitted on this.
So during that kind of
May,
in
from May
season,
1st to September 30th, so they could park it in front of the house if they want to during,
as long as you're allowed to park it now, are you allowed to park vehicles in your front yard?
well,
No.
it's probably not, yeah.
So you could, it would have to probably be on a driveway or something like that, or a pad or something like that during that period. You can't just park it anywhere, but you can park it somewhere that you're allowed to park vehicles for those maybe 5 months.
Where did you see the language of least for, what was that?
Right below here, you know.
Oh, I'm on the, okay.
It wasn't one of the things that.
Okay, so that's
That was
already
already
in the
in-
ordinance, so
yeah.
they're keeping that, I understand, okay.
And what's the time
I
frame?
thought, I was looking at that, I thought that was.
May 1st through September 30th.
That's interesting in
That's a
itself, why
wide
they
range.
wouldn't have taken it through the end of October. Because what I think is what you're seeing is they're saying, we recognize that people come home in the summer and they just travel with it. Because what my experience is a lot of these people use these in the winter to leave Northeast Ohio. They bring them back in the summer
Mhm.
and they stay parked in their house, where their house is in the summer because they don't really use it much. And so I just wonder
Yeah.
why it's September as opposed to,
I guess, yeah, maybe our recommendation would be is, yeah, are you sure that's the right dates to say you can have it out front, you know? Or is that when you need to have it accessible because you're traveling south or you're coming back, you know, I don't know.
yeah.
Can
I
we
know
send it
our
back with a
neighbors-
recommendation to consider extending it to October 31st?
Sure, you
It
can,
doesn't,
yeah.
doesn't mean they have to, right?
I'm just thinking of, I own a, you know, large recreational vehicle, and this is my home base. I'm slightly older than what I am now. This is my home base, and over the winter I travel with it. I go to Arizona, whatever. I stay out of the cold, and I come back here to my house, and this is where I live in the summer. And I keep my recreational vehicle in my yard in the summer. Keep it on my driveway, but it's viewed from the street. I just feel like that's probably more common than the other.
I guess you could, you know, during those months that are outside that window, you can have it out there. It just has to be in the least visible spot. So if you don't have the means to put your RV back behind your house and that spot next to your driveway is the best you got, then I guess that's where you can put it.
Well, we're
So
not
if
gonna,
someone complains, then you go build a bunch of, plant a bunch of shrubs so they can't move it.
yeah, we're not, like I said, we're just taking a common sense approach to it. right?
Yeah.
As the way it reads now, you know, and that's all we can do.
So what's next?
I mean, I think it would be nice if we could send back a recommendation to council. If we've got any recommendations to it, if we think it's fine as it is, if we're a little bit confused on the dates, you know, we could say that it's, you know, should it just be all year? The only place you can park it is the least visible spot. That might be right on your driveway, if that's all the room you've got. Or leave it as the dates, or extend the dates through October, because people are, you know, I don't know. That's how Brian says he would use it if he had it, he'd be traveling more in those off-season, he'd rather have it accessible, more accessible. My neighbors next door, they pretty much park theirs and they put a cover on it, he just put his cover on the other day.
For the
And he's-
winter.
For the winter.
Yeah.
He won't probably use it until spring.
That's interesting.
You know, it's just how they travel. They like to go north though, so it's kind of.
They may not be retired.
They are, but
Oh,
they, yeah, winter they're mostly around.
Huh.
But in the summer they like to go places and see sites and when it's not snowy.
I guess 6-1 doesn't have to be.
Yeah, so that's why, yeah, the dates seem a little bit tough to kind of pin down to me. But I don't have any problem with what they got, and if you wanted it accessible, then just, you could still have it at your house. You just gotta kind of tuck it away if you happen to build.
It sounds like what you're saying is you would entertain a motion to approve it with the consideration that maybe they want to talk about the dates a little more.
Yeah.
For the reason that we talked about.
Mhm.
It could be the traveling occurs in the winter to go south and they use it in the summer to
Yeah.
just park and stay at their home base. I'm not sure it'll make a difference, but just
Yeah.
for council to think about.
Yeah, and then maybe that may be what they're discussing back and forth themselves, it
Yeah.
kind of sounds
But
like.
there's no substantive difference. If it's the end of October, end of September, end of November, at the end of the day, it's just, it's kind of an arbitrary date, to be honest with you. So whatever the date is, the date is. I don't think it's gonna change your opinion.
What do you guys think about a recommendation like that? I mean, does anybody have any other strong opinions, that's something that should get mentioned to council?
I think that would be likely.
So Susan, maybe I'll make a motion as stated by Mr. France there. That discusses, we recommend it back to council. The only thing that we'd like them to consider, maybe put a little more thought into the dates, because we had a discussion here that we had disagreeing sides of when people use it and what might be the useful dates. But
So-
besides that, everything else we agree with. I think it's a good idea. No issues.
Okay.
Is that the end of the motion?
That's the end of the motion, unless I keep not rambling. If someone doesn't second it, I might add more to it as time.
Did you get it?
I think so. So they're recommending it back to council to consider putting thought into the dates, winter versus summer, usable dates, other than that, you agree with everything else.
Are you
Yeah.
leaning more towards extending it to the end of October, is that what
I
I'm
mean, that
hearing?
might be, something to consider. I mean, I don't know, I don't have one, so
I don't have one, I don't travel like that, so I don't know what was in their mind when they came up with those dates, or if it was just arbitrary, because
Well,
other
they're-
communities did it, you know?
The thought was, with the dates, was the idea of the campground's closing during the winter months, and they need a place to park their RV. And then if they can't comply with the ordinance, they would put it in storage, is a thought pattern. So,
We should probably have a second before we do two more discussion. Everyone want to second
I'll
that?
second it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess, any more discussion on that, or let it go and we'll,
I mean, we
Focus on
just
the
asked them
railroad.
to discuss it, they could leave it as it's written,
yeah.
we just want them to consider the dates.
Yeah, I don't think in general, if it went out like this, it's fine.
okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Is that it?
I think that's it. That's the last agenda item.
This needs something to say from council.
Susan, anything else we need to discuss?
No.
All right,
There you go.
make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have those pictures back for my file?